Hussbus bus stop.
JP Hussey here, owner of the Hussey Team Mortgage Advisors, with this week's Hussbus bus stop. Happy New Year, and we're officially doing a bus stop from the actual Hussbus. This has been a dream of mine and Nikki's dream for a lot of years, so we are doing it. But back to business. Today we want to talk about appraisal waivers, right? Everyone kind of knows what an appraisal is, right? You gotta pay $400, $500, $600, if not more, depending on if it's an investment, primary, blah, 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 right? They go out, they look at comparables, they look at the condition of the home, right? And they give a value, right? The market value, all right? And with these physical appraisals, right, they're using a lot of tech anyway, right? So over the past bunch of years, really, appraisal waivers came out during COVID, really, because you couldn't let people go out. So this is probably a 4 or 5 year type thing, right? But it's got a lot better and a lot more powerful. So when a mortgage person runs your full profile through the system, right, which includes an address of the property, it goes through and there's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, DU results, LP results. That's the automated underwriting, all right? That gives a decision. They take your whole profile together and it gives you a decision. In a lot of cases, right, depending on the situation and how it's set up, they will say, you don't need an actual appraisal. You got an appraisal waiver, which means that they're accepting the value that you're putting into the system and saying, we don't even need an appraisal. You are good to go. There's a lot of benefits with these, right? Let's go over a couple of them. Number one, you're not going to get maybe a bad appraisal. Appraisers are human beings and they can screw up, right? And there is some opinions with appraisals, all right? So you don't have a chance of a bad appraisal, all right? Also, sometimes, and you want safety things to be corrected, of course, but sometimes appraisers get really nitpicky with certain things that need to be fixed before you're allowed to close. You have no more risk of that, right? And it's just it makes everything quicker and smoother. That's a big part of buying a home or even refinancing. This happens on both. That's a big part of it that can take some time, right? So we're just getting rid of that, all right? Now, you can't just say, hey, did I get an appraisal waiver, right? Can you just see if I have an appraisal waiver? There has to be a property there, right? It has to be put in. You can't just run it through with what's called a TBD, a pre-approval scenario, right? There has to be a property attached to it because all the back-end data is taking all the comparables, right? Seeing the typical market value in the area, seeing if you're getting a good price on a home, right? And they're saying, we just don't need an appraisal. We're good. So a lot of times when you get an appraisal waiver, that means you're probably getting a pretty good deal on the home. All right, so thank your real estate agent. Now, that's on a purchase. And what that can do is that allows us to call the listing agent and say, hey, we don't need an appraisal on this property, right? That could make your offer look a bit more sexier, if you will. We've got a lot of people closed last year because we went the extra mile, ran it through with the address before they put the offer in and said, we have an appraisal waiver. We got a lot of people under contract because of that, and it went quick, right? We show some proof, we have a waiver, and we're good to go. So it helps out as a buyer, right, to get your offer accepted. That's a nice thing for a seller and a listing agent. No appraisal needed. No risk of anything bad happening. No risk of having to renegotiate depending on what an appraisal might say. Now, this is different from an inspection. You probably always want to get an inspection for your own personal, right, and to negotiate, but the appraisal is more towards value, but it will look at safety issues. Okay, so that's a big benefit. Make sure your loan officer is running the property through and getting the decision from either DU or LP, the automated underwriting, whatever. Okay, now refinances, they're getting to be really big right now, right? Another thing, we're getting appraisal waivers with only 10% in the value, right? It doesn't have to be 50% down, 60 like it used to be, or 20% down. 10% is usually the spot, right, on purchase and refi. So we're seeing this a lot with refis. People bought their house for $350. We're putting in a value. We're doing some trial and error, putting $380, and they're accepting that value, which is great. It means you got a good deal a couple years ago. You've already have appreciation because this automated system saying we're good with that value. That means in the area prices have been going up. So it determines what determines is the property, the area, right? If you're in an area that's declining, you might not get appraisal waivers. So what I'm trying to get at here, there's a lot of different things you have to make sure your loan officer goes through, right? The process of bleeding everything dry for you so you know what you're doing before you put an offer in. And then even on refis to make things quicker, 15-day closings, because we don't need that appraisal. So there's many things with this, right? There's many things in there that your loan officer should be doing. But this is a big one right now, a hot one, appraisal waivers. Just ask your loan officer, did you run it through? Do we have a waiver? Do we have a limited appraisal? There's a lot of different things there. So I want to give you guys some knowledge, right, of what to ask to make sure your loan officer is doing the right thing for you. Later.
Hussbus bus stop.